We're going to talk about how to make awesome Kahoots. So I've been all over the chat answering your questions and engaging with you along the way as well. But happy to come from behind the curtain to talk about how to make awesome Kahoots. So my name is Sydney Jones. I am a customer success specialist here at Kahoot based in the lovely Austin, Texas. I know there's a few people from Texas who are attending today. So hello. And I'm a customer success specialist. So that means that I help educators learn and understand all of the amazing features that Kahoot has to offer, specifically with Kahoot EDU, which is what we're talking about a lot today. So I'm curious in the chat, which I do have it open, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you with our Kahoot creator? So how confident are you with our Kahoot creator in creating Kahoots? Of course, we love to host existing Kahoots as well. All right, okay. Seeing quite a big spectrum here. So a little bit all over the place. If you are on the upper range in the 10, I hope you learned something today. And if you are in the lower range, I hope you become more confident over this next 26 minutes. So we're going to talk about tips to tune your Kahoot from good to great. And then I will also be demonstrating the Kahoot creator with our different question types and options. So step 1, we recommend to make a plan. So here are some questions that you could ask yourself while planning out your Kahoot. So why are you making the Kahoot? What is the purpose of the Kahoot? What do you hope the outcome of the Kahoot will be? What do the learners already know? Are you reviewing content that they should already know? Are you introducing content that they don't yet know? Where is the Kahoot likely to be played? Are you hosting the Kahoot live? Are you assigning the Kahoot asynchronously? Is this Kahoot a part of a course? All questions or answers that might help design your Kahoot a little bit differently. And always good to consider too, do you need to build in breathing space for discussion, debate, feedback, and just to answer students' questions? And of course, too, you can define key knowledge and learning goals so that you can compare that to the report of the Kahoot. As every Kahoot hosted or assigned generates a report, you can compare the report back to those learning goals to see if it has been achieved. Step 2, packaging chunks of knowledge. So breaking down the knowledge that you want to get across into question types and slides. So what do you want to assess and engage with? And what do you want to focus and instruct on in this Kahoot? We like a sweet spot of around 8 to 20 questions or slides with Kahoot. And as always, you can adjust both our timer options and how many points are awarded depending on the complexity of the question. Now, choosing the right question type. You can use feedback question types for collecting insight and facilitating real-time discussions. You can also in Kahoot have multiple correct answers, sparking discussion or debate. You can consider choosing the question types that can help you to gauge the knowledge level of your students. And you can use slides to introduce topics or explain question answers. Slides are also that great moment for pause and that breathing space mentioned earlier in the slide deck. So these are all the question types that we have available at Kahoot. Who knew? There are quite a lot of them now available to you. So these question types up at the top, we call our testing knowledge question types that are going to provide more of that gamified Kahoot experience and that competitive Kahoot experience. So we have our quiz, which can be both done in single select and multi-select, true, false, type answer, slider, which is brand new, and puzzle. So these all have points associated with them for accuracy and also for speed as well. Now, these question types on this next row are called our collecting opinion question types. So these are used to gather feedback, spark discussion, and I think you can also use them for soft assessment. You can still gauge knowledge levels with our collecting opinion question types. So we have polling, which you can do too in both single select and multi-select, drop pin, also brand new, word cloud, open-ended, and brainstorm. And then of course we have slides as well. Now, once you have your question types defined, you want to also define the relevant answer options. So specifically with our quiz question type, where you're putting maybe some incorrect answers and you're wanting students to find the correct one, you want to ask yourself, are those incorrect answers plausible? Are they too close to the correct answer that it might confuse students? So they should be tricky enough to be challenging and also prompt critical thinking, but still give every student a chance to feel success. It's important in any Kahoot to make sure you throw an easy win in there for students so they can feel successful through the Kahoot. Also, too, you can tell a story with your Kahoot. So can the answer from this question act as a natural segue to the next, or even as a clue for a later question? Step 5, the easiest way to make your Kahoot even more awesome is to add media. So we have our Getty image library as well as Unsplash. We're also integrated with Giphy. And then we have YouTube and Vimeo integrations. And we also have our lovely audio media type, and with the opportunity to upload your own images as well. So that can be done on any of our question types and slides that include media. And then with both puzzle, quiz, and poll, you can have media as the answer options, which I'll demonstrate here very shortly. So you also want to structure the Kahoot to give it progression. You're taking the students on a learning journey, if you will, to stay in the theme of this summit. So you can start with an easy question or one of our collecting opinion question types, such as word cloud or poll, just to get students moving in the Kahoot. And then you can end the Kahoot with a little bit more challenging questions with a double point question to add suspense for the leaderboard. So now we're going to actually launch into the demonstration of the Kahoot creator, and I am demonstrating from a Kahoot EDU account. That's the plan that I typically work with. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through this demonstration. So I have a pretty simple Kahoot here, just a couple of question types and slides that I'm working with, and we're just going to work together to really enhance this Kahoot to make it even more awesome. So as I mentioned, I do like to start off with adding a poll and a word cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and create that poll, and what I'm wanting to poll, and this goes alongside Mark's presentation with Microsoft, is how are you feeling? How are you feeling today? And I like to hop into our Giphy integration to include some wonderful GIFs as options for students to select with how they might be feeling. Let's do excited. And then last but not least, we'll include one for tired. All right, so in this case, this is a single select poll. So students would only be selecting one of these different GIFs for how they might be feeling that day. But again, as Mark mentioned, there's many times where you're feeling more feeling than once. So you can make this a multi-select poll, in which case students would be able to select multiple of these different feelings that they might be going through that day. So now I want to also add a word cloud. And for my word cloud, this is where I want to get their minds moving in the direction of the content that we're going to be covering, which is all about coral reef ecosystems. So I'm interested to hear from the students what comes to mind when you think of coral reef ecosystems. If they answered Finding Nemo, fair. But I want to get them, prepared to absorb the content that I'm going over, which is all about coral reef systems that day. So in this case, I just want to drag and drop the poll in the word cloud to the top of my Kahoot, which you can always rearrange, you can duplicate and move question types around. And then also too, I want to add some media into this, especially since we're dealing with coral reefs. And there is some beautiful, colorful, actually, GIFs that you can include as media. So now I'm ready to, start assessing them or start engaging with them so that they can start to achieve some points. So the first question that I have is a true false. A ridge of material at or near the ocean surface is called a reef. Now I do like this question a lot, but I want to ask it in a slightly different way. So I want them to actually see that reef is the answer to this question. So I'm going to go ahead and update this to a puzzle. And the reason why I'm choosing a puzzle is because reef happens to be a 4-letter word. And so with puzzle, these blocks would appear scrambled for students and they would need to place them appropriately. And don't worry, it doesn't matter which of the E's is put where, we would still register that as a correct answer. And 1 minute is an appropriate time that I think for my students that this would work for me. And I do want to keep it at a standard points level, as this is the first time students can achieve points. Now, this may seem like a pretty simple question to create, but again, we want students to feel successful, especially with question types that they're less maybe confident with or they're less used to. So in this case, might be pretty easy to figure out and just unscramble the word. But they get to submit and respond with reef as the answer. And again, just getting their minds moving and engaging with them along the way. So now I have a slide. So I've engaged with them. I've asked them a poll, generated a word cloud, and also given them the opportunity to generate some points in the Kahoot. So now I'm wanting to do a little bit of instruction to set up the rest of my Kahoot. So this is all about coral polyps, and this slide is available in the free version of Kahoot, our classic slide right here. And you'll notice that when I preview this slide, I really want to add some media in there. So in this case, let me go to images actually. Amazing. I already have keywords in my slide that generates images perfectly curated for me and this Kahoot that I'm creating. And so now we have a beautiful image to represent coral polyps. So moving on to a quiz question. So approximately how many species of coral are there? So with a quiz question, at minimum, you only have to provide 2 answer options, or you can go all the way up to 6, making it increasingly more difficult for students to identify the correct answer. But in this case, the answer to this question is a number. So if the answer to the question that you're asking is a number, I want you to start thinking about using slider as a potential option. So with slider, it's going to automatically set a minimum and a maximum, and then I can include my unit of species. And I can adjust this as needed. If I wanted to bump all the way up to 7,000, I could. And the step value does change automatically as well. Now on the right-hand side, here's where those customizations can come in, especially depending on the students that you're working with. So time limit, I might want to bump it up a little bit more to 30 seconds. And with slider specifically, we have the ability to customize the answer margin. So you can only accept the correct answer, have a low. Let me go ahead and bump that up a little bit so we can see better. You can have a medium margin, a high margin, or my personal favorite, which is maximum. So within that blue frame here, any student that responds to, in this case in maximum, any student who submits a response will receive points. They just receive more points the closer they are to the actual correct answer. So if you were to do a medium, students within this frame or in this margin, they would receive points. But if it is outside of the margin, they wouldn't receive points for that particular question. So you can customize that answer margin as needed. So moving on to a question about coral polyps, referencing the slide that was presented earlier. This is an example of how you can only have 2 answer options with a quiz. And one of the reasons why you might want to do this is because you're really wanting to focus on what it is and what it isn't. So I want them to know for sure that coral polyps are animals, and I definitely don't want them to think that it is rocks. And for this one here, again, we're just gonna add in some GIFs to make it more engaging, make it more vibrant and more visual. All right, so next I have a type answer. So what type of symbiotic relationship does zooxanthellae have with corals? Now the image that I've presented is actually just a screenshot of a slide in a separate presentation. So I'm providing the word that I'm asking for on the screen through the media. And one way to potentially kind of have a lag to present that answer to them is using our feature called image reveal. So if this is something that I feel like students should know, but they might need a little bit of a hint to know the answer to this question, then I can use image reveal to slowly reveal this over the time allotted for this particular question. Hold on, I'm just checking my notes really quickly. And last but not least, in our quiz, before we start adding some more question types, what are the benefits of coral reef ecosystems? Here, I'm going to show you how you can add additional answers, such as provides jobs, and then also source of new medicines. So these are also correct answers. And what we have here is a multi-select quiz question. So in this case, students would need to select and tap every one of these answer options in order to receive the maximum amount of points. If they only selected 4 of them, 5 of them, 3 of them, they would get partial points towards this multi-select quiz. They're also told when it's a multi-select quiz, which is really nice. But what's interesting too is you can do correct answers with single select. So in this case, there's no incorrect answer. Every student's going to be successful answering this question because there is not a wrong answer. So this is a great example of how you can help students feel successful. So now we're going to start adding some additional questions, as this is only about 8 Kahoots and slides. So I'm going to add a drop pin, which is brand new. And I want to ask students, hold on one second. Where in the world are coral reefs? And I want to just add an image of map. Here we go. Let's do this one for example. So I want students to drop a pin on where they think coral reefs are. So I'm asking that of them first in this case. And this is all about collecting feedback. There is no correct answer. Of course, you can discuss and review the answer. But what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and add a slide, use our big media slide, which is one of my favorites, and include an image of where coral reefs are on the world map. And then, of course, it's always great to add your source if you are pulling from other online resources. So now that we've gone through the majority of the question types, I am also going to go ahead and add a video. So with a video, I also like to use our big media, but again, you can also use our classic slide to embed videos as well. So I want to find and insert this video that I have available with our YouTube integration and include this in my Kahoot. So I can decide when I want the video to start and end, or I can just keep it as is. And because it's in a slide, there's no time constraint. So if you include a video, say on a quiz question that has 30 seconds, the video is gonna cut out at 30. So in this case, you can watch the entire video and then you can assess and ask questions about the video afterwards. And just to preview what that looks like, this is how it would appear. We're not going to watch it, but you can see that I have full control over the video, even the ability to turn on captions, adjust the settings, and go full screen. And this video is all about ways that the Great Barrier Reef is being restored over in Australia. And so the next question that I want to ask the students is actually a brainstorm of how can we help coral reefs, and have students generate those ideas amongst themselves. So in a brainstorm, players do submit ideas. You can decide how many ideas you want the players to submit. This all depends on just the size of your audience at the end of the day, but it's up to you. And then in a live Kahoot only, you can discuss the ideas and group similar ones together, and then players vote on their favorite ideas. Now, in that voting phase of brainstorm, there are points involved if you want there to be. Of course, at any point, you can take away those points in any given question. But to show you what that looks like, we're going to go ahead and preview. So this is how Brainstorm populates its ideas and how the ideas are submitted. They are submitted anonymously in the Kahoot game itself. And once they are revealed, you can drag and drop those similar ideas on top of each other, because we of course don't want to discount or get rid of any good ideas. We just want to group them together if they are similar. So once we've grouped together all the ideas, you can release them to be voted on. And players whose ideas get votes, they get some points allocated to them. So it's great to end a Kahoot with a brainstorm as well, as that can also help to shake up the leaderboard like a double points question. And at the end of brainstorm, there is a third, second, and first place best idea, a student generated favorite idea as well. And so that's a super fun feature that you can use in your classroom with Kahoot EDU. And last but not least, I also love to ask an open-ended question such as, what is one thing you learned today? Their parents are going to ask, or their guardians or anyone at home might ask them, what is one thing you learned today? So you're just going to set them up for success once they get there. But, asking them, what is one thing you learned? It's great as an educator to hear what really stuck with them. What are they going to remember tomorrow and the next day and the day after that? You might learn a little bit of something about the students that you're working with, and you can of course review all of these responses in the report of the Kahoot afterwards. So within the Kahoot creator as well, there's more ways to make your Kahoot more engaging, such as adding our themes. So with Kahoot EDU, you are able to have organization-wide or campus-wide or district-wide themes, but you're also able to create your own. So I created this little Science with Sydney theme that I can apply to my entire Kahoot. And then we also have our Kahoot made themes as well. And we do have a few free ones that you can use and apply to your entire Kahoot. And last but not least, with any Kahoot, to make it more awesome, not only for yourself, but for others, is to give your Kahoot a really solid title and also give your Kahoot a great description. If your Kahoot is public and available to educators from all around the world, providing a great description of your Kahoot will help them know faster if they can use it and want to use it within their own classroom. So such as the grade level, the content that it covers. I like to put last updated as a reference for myself. When did I last edit this Kahoot? And so on and so forth. And if you are creating Kahoots to share within your own organization in a Kahoot EDU account, it's still a good idea to have a nice description, again, just to make it easier for others to know what your Kahoot covers. So I believe that is actually everything that I wanted to go over in the Kahoot creator.